Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the AIM Growth Partners podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Emil Opachevsky, the founder and CEO of Cyincore. Emil, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to and excited to kind of jump into your story and unpack a little bit about what the business is doing. To provide a bit of context to listeners who haven't already, spoken with you, don't know who you are, could you give us a bit of an introduction and a bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Emil Opachevsky, like you said. I started my journey in IT and cybersecurity back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I started in the Israeli Air Force as a system administrator. After my 3 years there, I continued as a system administrator outside of.
And like an year or two after that, I've decided to transition into cybersecurity, and I completed the OSCP and OSC certifications and started my journey as an penetration tester, and after that also as an incident responder and stuff like that. Around 2021, I've started Cyincore to basically provide cybersecurity services, intelligence services, both offensive and defensive. We are based in Dubai, and that's it basically in a minute or two.
Amazing. Well, thanks for the introduction, and let's turn a bit of attention then to the business that you've recently founded. The cybersecurity space is such a vast and such a wide, kind of area. What's the particular gap you found in the market, and how are you tackling that?
So yeah, of course, cybersecurity is very vast. You have a lot of stuff from, defensive, offensive operations. You have compliance. You have more C-level consultation, stuff like that. We are focusing on a very high-end, very cutting-edge penetration testing. So, for example, stuff like, all the OT or the IoT, cars, even. A lot of that, like stuff that you wouldn't see, on your basically daily projects. And also in the IR field, in the incident response field, we are dealing with like 24/7 monitoring and of course detection and response to cybersecurity incidents, both the regular phishing attempts and up to like full compromises that we need to contain, basically investigate and stop, and then help the business to eradicate that and continue from that point. Again, cybersecurity is a very large field, but we found our niche specifically in those areas, in the more high-end services.
So I guess aligning yourself with these particular kind of problem areas and the areas that are probably underserved, you mentioned penetration testing, mentioned OT, IoT, and connected devices. I think that's a big area of focus at the moment. What are you finding are kind of the main trends in cybersecurity, maybe the areas that are being neglected or kind of the emerging and trending themes at the moment?
Yeah. So I think all the movement to the cloud, basically, that happening in the last, I think at least 15 years. You have like much more SaaS software as a service. Like I don't have the exact number, but I guess that an average organization has at least like 50% of their operations on the cloud, either if it's Salesforce or Office 365, anything like that. So it's a big trend moving from like everything is on-prem and everything is cloud. Like not everything, but like most of the things are cloud. And a lot of the attacks that we are seeing today and that we need to stop and investigate basically are in the cloud. So username and a password got leaked and an attacker got access to some cloud infrastructure, and from that point they got access to something else. And this is a big trend that we are seeing. It's the end of that trend, I believe, because the trend started like 10-15 years ago, and now it's the end of that trend, but it's still like a big issue of basically protecting cloud infrastructure. As you know, Wiz, for example, got acquired not long ago for I think $32 billion, and they focus only on cloud. So it's a big thing to see that even after 10-15 years, it's still a big place that a lot of the infrastructure and a lot of the companies are focusing on. And today, of course, we also have the movement to LLM and to agentic operations, which I believe is the next step after, like with the cloud, basically. No, not after cloud, with the.
And I guess following that thread, following that theme along, how, and I guess what are you doing specifically diving into that a little bit more as people are shifting more towards AI and using LLMs and stuff? What's the risk there? What do you see as being the kind of the next wave, the next cloud?
Yeah. So the risk in using LLMs from a business perspective, there are a lot of risks. So one of the biggest ones is that a lot of data is pouring out to the LLM itself. So for example, if I work in HR or in the finance department, I can easily just copy paste something and, like I can ask him something, I can ask ChatGPT something, and I basically like exfiltrate the data, and not a lot of employees think about that. And today you have like a couple of solutions that try to target that, but it's still hard. And the other main thing is that agentic operations like LLM agents are starting to be a big thing, and I believe that they are going to be the next, I will call it weakest links. You know the phrase that the human is the weakest link today, that the human always clicks on the phishing link, and you can call him and like ask him something and you'll get access to his computer. Like LLMs in general, they are designed to be as compliant as they can. Even if you talk with ChatGPT today or like any other LLM agent, and they saying something wrong, and you like, this is wrong. They're, yeah, of course this is wrong, because they are designed to be as helpful as they can. From a cybersecurity perspective, it's a big issue because it's not that hard today to make an agent do something that is not designed to. So for example, if you have an agent that is designed to, I don't know, send messages, but is also connected to the Google Drive, you can ask him nicely, let's say, to get me this in this file, and you can try and vision a word that company puts out an, I don't know, chat agent of themselves, I don't know, let's say in their website as a help feature. You can ask an agent something, and you can make him do stuff or like access something in like inside the organization itself. It's a big thing. So the next phishing wave will be, I believe, against LLM agents, which is also a big weak point, I believe so, in terms of cybersecurity.
You mentioned something there about, I think you were saying with agentic LLMs, quite often is it hallucinations when they give kind of information as if it's credible, but they don't actually know. They won't say, I don't know the answer to that. They'll
Yes,
give
of course.
something. Is it hallucinations the word that people use to, how much of a kind of a risk is that as people are kind of putting more and more trust and faith into these agentic LLM systems? How much of a risk is that beyond, it being an attack vector from phishing, for example? How much of a risk is that from a trust perspective?
Yeah. So in terms of like pure cybersecurity, I can't say it's a risk because you can't, let's say, make him do something with those hallucinations. But if you're talking about the other side of the coin, so for example, if you're talking about using LLMs to investigate something, to get data or anything else, and then the LLM starts to get you false data or false conclusions or anything like that, it's again starting to be a big issue. And this kind of moved us to like a main issue that I see in using LLMs in the other side of the vectors, which is context. LLM itself without context is not smart. Like LLMs, like they're not built to be smart, basically. They are, of course, trained upon like you can say that our internet and even more than that, but without the right context, they can't really help you. Of course, they can help with, write this better or, do something like that. But in terms of cybersecurity, especially when you're thinking about the defensive side or, going through logs or stuff like that, you have to make sure that you're providing the right context, that the LLM itself gets the correct data and the relevant data. And then the LLM is smart enough to go over those, let's say, data points, analyze them, and provide some kind of I don't know, conclusion, recommendation, stuff like that. But without the correct context, the LLM itself will start to guess and hallucinate, like you say.
If I've understood that correctly, it's not about, it sounds like you're relatively bullish on the use case of AI and LLMs to enhance security capabilities and enhance kind of business processes generally. but it's important to maintain that human AI balance and not surrender too much control and autonomy to the AI, or be, entirely manual and human led. Is that right about striking the balance?
I think that like today in 2025, yes, you're correct. In the near future, like 2-3 years maybe, I think that we will see automation being much more autonomous, basically. But today we still don't have the right infrastructure to provide the right context to LLMs. And today I see it as a tool that can enhance the analyst or, the cybersecurity expert, but it will not replace that. And you can see that especially in tools like Windsurf and Cursor, stuff like that are basically IDEs and help you code. When the project size starts to be huge, the LLM starts to make a lot of, let's say, silly mistakes. He can't really get the right context because they have so much data. And I'm talking about the need to know to provide the specific context to the LLM. So for example, if Windsurf would understand the process of how to find the relevant code from all of the structure, it will help them massively. They are doing something like that. They are telling the agent to go over the code and find something specific, but it's not, bulletproof. And in terms of cybersecurity, we can imagine that soon LLMs will have access to internal tools and stuff like that, and you can just pour everything like inside LLM. You have two main problems. One of them is the token window, which is like, I think the biggest today is like 1 million tokens, which is a lot, but still not enough to just pour everything inside the organization. So you have to have like at least, I don't know, the infrastructure or the data pipeline to know which data is relevant to which query. And this is very important for the LLM to take us to the next level in cybersecurity.
Understood. How do you stand out as a business from some of these larger kind of one-size-fits-all platform play solutions? What's your kind of USP? What's your differentiator?
Yeah, I think that you can always try to focus on a specific subfield or a very specific issue and try to solve it as, let's say, as best as possible. Not always the solution that covers everything is something that is the best for you or the best for the business. Sometimes it's better to find something very specific that solves a specific pain point and get that solution that get the solution that covers like a large area of issues, but solves them let's say rudimentary or in a basic way.
Yeah. So on that, talking about your kind of the clients you work with, then typically when I've spoken to a lot of these business owners, CEOs, founders that run the businesses, they've been targeting kind of the more the SMB market. What's your kind of client demographic?
Yeah. That's a great question. So basically in the consulting area, because Cyincore today, like we have the consulting side and we're also developing a product. So like we will talk about that later. But in the consulting side, our clientele is SMBs and enterprises. We are targeting those that have like I said before, the cutting edge issues, like the very specific edge cases, and not always you can find that in a small family office or like a small startup or anything like that. We are focusing like on SMBs and the bigger enterprises. And regarding like enterprises, you stated earlier, which is very correct, that a lot of tools that the enterprises are using, they are using like 10%, 15%, 20% of the features. A lot of time they are buying like a huge monstrosity of a tool or or a solution for something very, very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that specifically in like EDRs or like XDRs, that the enterprises are using it only for like I don't know, endpoint protection. It has like threat intelligence inside. It has like anything else, like a lot of things inside, but they are buying like specific other products to do, the threat intelligence or the OSINT or anything else. Again, it comes back to my point that sometimes it's better to focus on something specific and to do it better. And you can see that in enterprises there that are buying a lot of tools.
Sounds like there's been a bit of an evolution or a bit of the tides change slightly, and that working and just having 1,000,001 tools, there's so much noise and there's so many solutions out there all supposedly offering the same thing, but one's better than the next. And a lot of these kind of consolidated products where, as we discussed, you're buying a whole suite of solutions for a very specific use case. Sounds like, from a lot of the people I've been speaking to, from a consumer perspective, people seem to be frustrated with that now, and they do prefer for those single point, not even single point solutions, but more bespoke, customizable solutions. And I think dealing with people. What's your experience, been with that?
Yeah, you're really correct. Basically, one of the main things that we are seeing today is, for the last, I would say 10 years, the average amount of tools, of IT and cybersecurity tools in an organization went from around like 30, 40 to close to 80 to 89. I don't know, even more than that sometimes. And also with that comes a lot of noise, like you said, and we can see that in the amount of data that an average organization is creating. So again, like 10 years ago, average organization created around half a tera, 1 tera of logs a day, a week even. Today we're talking about 10, 15 terabytes a day in an enterprise.
Wow.
In the biggest enterprises, it's even way more than that. But the average enterprises, let's say. And this causes a big issue, in my opinion, when analysts or cybersecurity experts need to manage and use 50, 60 tools, and they need to swift through terabytes of logs a day to find the relevant piece of information that they need. It again comes back to the context issue, and that context issue we can separate into two main issues: what data do I need and where I can find that data. So if we will focus on like a SOC analyst that needs to analyze a specific detection or something like that, a lot of times the analyst wastes hours to understand the context behind that issue, and to do that he needs to access this tool and that tool, and you need to query that data, and then using that data you can query that tool, and it takes a lot of time to understand the story behind that detection. And not even the SOC analyst, even if we're talking about like cybersecurity consultants that's trying to do a project around, let's say, compliance, so GRC or anything like that. They are trying to figure out if that database is encrypted. How are you storing this information? And they are ending up using so many tools and querying so many data points and so many dashboards, and wasting a lot of time to again understand the story behind it. And this leads me to my belief that again LLM, a solution surrounding LLM with the correct context and the correct connections to those let's say enterprise solutions and enterprise data points and data lakes and whatever, can enhance significantly that areas of cybersecurity. So for example, you can take a query of give me all of the users that have connected in the last 24 hours using the VPN, and what processes are they executed. A SOC analyst or cybersecurity analyst today would need to access the VPN logs, and then take the usernames at the endpoints and go to the EDR, and do an export from there, and then cross-reference until you get the full story and the full results. You wasted hours. An LLM with connection to those tools and those data logs can do that in minutes, which will enhance significantly the end user, the client, basically.
Yeah. So I understand that there's a lot of fatigue, there's a lot of tools out there, and there's a lot of kind of buyer fatigue, and people want something that's kind of cut through the noise, solve my problem, don't sell me this big sort of platform that gives me 101 other features that I don't need. So it makes sense why people would want to work with someone that's a bit more kind of bespoke and customizable. That being said, it must be incredibly hard going up against some of these vendors with big sales teams and big sales-led motions. How do you find, like, what's your, I guess, kind of winning angle, if that's the best way of phrasing it? What's that angle? You've not got a big kind of sales motion, a big sort of sales team. You've not got that traditional sales-led approach. What's the kind of the angle you go in at?
Yeah. Again, a great question. I would say that our edge is that we have the consulting side, and because we have the consulting side, we already have the client relations, and we already inside of the network of the clients, and we understand the structure and the let's say architecture of the client's network, and we understand the client's pain points basically. Like, we don't need to start from of course, the big enterprises has a lot of salespeople and a lot of solutions, but we have the human connection with them. We understand like their pain points, and we as a cybersecurity consultants, you can say we are similar to the analyst, we are similar to their internal cybersecurity team. So we understand their specific pain points of the end users. So for example, if you're talking about the cybersecurity team of an enterprise, we know how their daily life is. We understand like what are they using and what are they doing, and we can customize our approach to be better for them, because at the bottom line, we are trying to help them either with the cybersecurity consulting side or either with the product side, because we're trying to solve a pain point for them basically. So of course, we're not unique. A lot of people have that connection, but we try ourselves in understanding deeply the process of the cybersecurity teams and the cybersecurity end users.
I guess you mentioned the kind of explosion of the number of tools the average enterprise has. Everyone knows they've bought tools that they've been sold that they need to later realize they don't need, and they've probably got a lot of overlapping kind of functions with existing software they've got out there. So I guess now it's not a new thing. Everyone's been sold to products they were told they needed to have, to only realize that we didn't actually need it. So I guess the differentiator is, and something I've tried to incorporate in my business, it's more of a partnership, more of a consultancy piece than I'm going to sell you an off the rack sort of solution that lacks customization, lacks any kind of bespoke feel. I'm going to specifically diagnose what your problem is and lay out a bit of an action plan as to how we can get you there with none of the sort of associated bells and whistles you might get with a larger vendor. Is that about right?
Yeah. Our solution that we're developing is basically the LLM that can connect to all of those tools, and we are trying to solve cybersecurity organizational search, let's say. So for example, we are trying to solve that specific issues, the explosion of tools and the explosion of data, and the amount of time that the analyst or the cybersecurity expert are wasting to get the specific context of the story that they need. We are trying to solve that, and also as a byproduct, let's say, of that, we are enhancing the capabilities of their tools, because we saw a lot of time that because they have so many tools and some of them are overlapping each other, they don't really use one specific tool because like this data is there. So basically with our solution, we can tell you from a viewpoint of visibility, this tool gives you that visibility and that opportunities, and this tool gives you that and that and that, and you don't need that tool or this tool because you have this, you understand? So
yeah,
we are enhancing not only the operations of the end user, but the view of the, let's say, data and tools and the visibility that you have, because our idea, again, is to solve the cybersecurity search problem in the organizations. You have so much data and you have so many, let's say, internal documents or guidelines or the IR plague with so much data and so many paths and so many, connections, it's hard to understand what is next or, the context. So I think that solving that also helps with the usage of the tools, because we are enhancing the tools I wouldn't say capabilities, but the tools usage.
Yeah. I think I've understood that. So that's a product you're actively working on. When's that going to be launched? What's the sort of roadmap or plan for that one?
Yeah, so we are currently in the MVP stage. We are planning to finish MVP in a month or two, something like that. And from that point, we are working with a couple of design partners, clients, and we will basically give them the tools and get some feedback, and hopefully we will be able to customize the tools and the features to really solve that issue. We really believe that this issue is a big pain point for organizations today. Also, we didn't talk about that, but now I remembered. If this tool can also enhance the way that new employees get inside the organization. The onboarding process today of a new analyst, of a new cybersecurity expert in an enterprise is weeks, sometimes even more, until they're fully operational. Because again, you have so many guidelines and so many tools and stuff like that. If you can query with plain English stuff, you will be much faster. If you can get context about something specific in a matter of minutes and not hours, you will be much faster. So we will hopefully be able to lower the onboarding time of new employees and lower the, I wouldn't say wasted time, but invested time of the end users, of the analysts and the cybersecurity experts. At least from our internal usage of the tool, we are seeing at least 2 hours a day of let's say time that is saved.
Wow.
Like I said before, in the consultation side, we are monitoring and also responding to incidents. So we see a lot of data coming in, we see a lot of detections coming in, a lot of flags, let's say suspicious stuff, and we use like our tool to analyze those detections and to enrich them with threat intelligence and stuff like that. It saves us a lot of time, and I believe that when we will be able to ship it to customers, they will see the same enhancement, even more, because they have much more tools than us.
Yeah. So just to kind of summarize and make sure I've got that right. So you're solving that search problem, you're providing more context, cutting through the noise of a lot of this cybersecurity noise out there. You're helping consolidate down and optimize, I guess, for want of a better word, the enterprise spend on tools as well. Because you're showing them, giving them visibility of the tools they've got, the capabilities of those tools, where it's potentially overlapping, so that they can then make an informed decision as to where they're allocating spend on various tools, as well as also saving time and essentially money on reducing the ramp time for new analysts coming in, because they've got this context. They can use plain English to query and get ramped up to speed quicker. Is that kind of summarize what the product's going to do then?
Yeah, 100%. The idea is to enhance the end user, not to replace them. The time that they are wasting on doing, X, Y, Z, they can just ask the tool and it goes and uses all of the connection and all of the agents that we've built to streamline this operation. And then it just, returns you the context. It doesn't operate for you, at least not yet, because we want to give the ability we want to leave the decision making to the end user, but we are significantly enhancing the part of getting that specific context or that data that they need, without leaving like our dashboard even, which is of course easier.
Like that, and it's a refreshing approach as well. I think so many of the vendors out there are talking about kind of replacing and automating various stages of the process, and we've spoken about this data explosion, having data here, there, and everywhere. And I think sometimes so many of the marketing and the sales motions are predicated on we replace, we save you money, but actually not knowing that there's all these data is then being stored elsewhere, and we're going to create problems further down the line. You're probably going to have to hire other people or buy more software to make sense of that. Whereas you're saying we're not replacing anyone, we're optimizing, we're generating efficiency gains, potentially financial gains in terms of consolidating the tools you use, reducing ramp time, and cutting through the noise, providing context. So I think that's a really quite a refreshing approach compared with what I know some of the vendors out there are doing.
Yeah. Think how much time you've saved yourself by using Claude or ChatGPT. Hours, even days. So the same, but for cybersecurity. We don't want to replace anyone yet, maybe in the future. But the idea is, again, to save you the time, because getting the context and getting the logs and, doing the first analysis of them is something that the analyst does every day. You get the logs, and it's the technical part of it. It's easy because you can just connect and get the stuff. But the let's say a decision to what to do is something that we still want to leave it to the end user and the expert. Same as ChatGPT today, it doesn't do something for you. It helps you get the context. It answers your questions. It does, summaries for you, and it saves you a lot of time. But you end up doing the work at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that makes sense. And what's now I've got a good understanding of the business, how, you've got your consulting arm, you're building this product out, where you're at in terms of your journey and what that product aims to do and the benefits it aims to bring. I'm interested in kind of stepping back a second, obviously. So first time founder, what's been the main sort of surprises, lessons learned, or even sort of challenges you've noticed since stepping into kind of the role of CEO and founder?
Yeah, a lot of challenges, of course, a lot of challenges from managing contractors to getting those projects, because you have so many cybersecurity vendors today, cybersecurity firms, and everybody does overlapping things. So nobody is 100% unique, and you still need to have that specific edge and stuff like that. That's a great question. I would say that being a small company today is the plus and the minus. A plus is you are very fast to innovate, you are very fast to do stuff, and you have the flexibility to adjust yourself to the client's needs. If you're a huge enterprise, you have your box and you do these things that way, and if it's not good for you, your problem. But because we are a small team, we have the capability to be very, very flexible for our employees. We can do stuff that are unique to them. We can invest, I don't know, an extra day or two to do something extra, stuff like that. But it comes with minuses, of course. We had specific clients that ended up didn't taking us or our product because we are small, because they want to have the, let's say, the social proof that you already did stuff and you already have the that and that, and you have like X amount of clients under your wing and stuff like that. I believe that every company and every product has its place in this market. You just need to find the correct, let's say, clients and a market fit for you. So in the cybersecurity consulting side, we found that in the cutting edge and in the unique projects. And using that connections, we are able to get into companies, and because we are showing them like our capabilities with the tool and without the tools, and they're interested in becoming design partners. So I would say to summarize my answer is that the pluses is that we are very quick and very flexible, but the minuses is that we are small. So it's something that a lot of clients are I wouldn't say against, but are cautious of.
You're relying on that element of trust in the first instance of someone taking the chance on you. I guess the benefit of being small and agile is when you go in is you can definitely outcompete some of the bigger companies that are providing, as you said, that kind of off the shelf, this is our solution, take it or leave it. There's no customization or anything to kind of fit your specific use case and needs. So once you get those case studies and testimonials, they're fantastic because you can go above and beyond your competitors. But then equally, for every person that takes a chance on you, there's going to be probably more that size, scale, lack of case studies is going to be a problem. And I guess that's probably something that's, I guess, kind of consistent for a lot of startup founders, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But it's something that takes time. But after you get through that, if you're able to get through that, and if you have a good solution and you have a good market fit, honestly, there is no reason that like you shouldn't succeed, because the market has place for everyone today.
Yeah. And as they say, trust takes a hell of a long time to build up, but you can lose it so quickly. So I think sometimes having that slower, steadier growth period where you can provide that white glove service, really going above and beyond, you're mitigating or at least really minimizing any risk of, breaking any sort of trust. And it's a bit of a slower burn, but as you said, there's a place in the market for everyone. So as I guess kind of a final thought or final question from me, what's the plan with the business then? So you've got the product you're launching. What does the next sort of 12 months and beyond look like for you and the business?
So without getting into the features of the product itself, I would say that the next 12 months looks perfectly, if I can say that. We will finish the MVP. We will find a couple of design partners. We will get feedback. We will fix that feedback. We will implement the features that they need, and we will roll out to other clients using our connections. And from that point, let's see. Maybe we can raise money. Maybe we will not have to raise money. We still not have like the full plan because it's very, very dynamic. Also, after we will get the first feedback, maybe like we will see that they need like XYZ, and like we will have to change and adapt and pivot. But our perfect plan is MVP, design partners, first clients.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to closely tracking your journey over the next 12 months and beyond. And I'm sure in a few months' time, 6 months' time, 12 months' time, we can have another podcast and we'll be kind of catching up and seeing where the business is out there. Are there any kind of closing thoughts you wanted to leave kind of to any of the listeners, if they wanted to kind of reach out, or any final thoughts you wanted to leave with them?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for hosting me. It was a pleasure. And you can find me on LinkedIn and on Cyincore.com. And soon we will launch our product, which will be named something else. I will send everything on LinkedIn, of course. And if you have any questions for me, or if you want to reach out, I'm always open to anything in the LinkedIn or email, and we can discuss everything that's needed.
Amazing. Well, it's been my pleasure having you on, and I've learned so much about the business. And as I said, excited to follow the journey of the business over the next 12 months and beyond. So thank you again, and thank you to the listeners that are going to tune into this episode.
Thank you so much.